Hi guys, my name is Amir, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to install and configure a Windows server. This tutorial has three main objectives that hopefully you will learn at the end of this tutorial. Number one is learn how to install Windows Server. Number two, configure network settings and enable rules like Active Directory, DNS, and DHCP. Three, understand the basic Windows understand the basic of Windows Server administration. So before we begin, we need to download four things. So before we begin, we need to prepare four things. The first thing we're going to need is to download a virtual machine. You can use VirtualBox, VMware, or Hyper-V, or any other virtual machine that you would like. The second thing we're going to need is to download a Windows Server 2022 ISO from the main Microsoft website or any other source that you can get your hands on. The third thing we need to prepare is to have the product key or trial period. And the last thing, which is optional, is to have internet connection to download the objects. As I stated, we're going to need to download a virtual machine. So you can go ahead and download VMware Workstation. I'm going to provide the link in the description, and you can do the steps, which is not the main focus of this video, to download the virtual machine or any other virtual machine that you would like. After that, you're going to go through the installation and you're going to have the app ready. So before we start, you need to download the ISO file from the website. Links in the description, like always. You can choose your language and simply download it. Later on, you're going to come to your virtual machine. For example, we're going to use VMware, typical installation, and then we're going to choose our ISO file, which is this one. And next, don't put anything in product key yet. We're gonna choose, actually it doesn't really matter because we're not installing Windows 10. We're gonna choose our name, which doesn't really matter as well, just a name. And I don't actually want to set any passwords yet. Virtual machine name, again, Windows Server. Next, we want 50 gigabytes for our operating system. And custom hardware, we have to set it at 44 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and dual CPU cores, and finish. So once this shows up, you wanna choose evaluation desktop experience. I'm gonna hit next. That's error is caused because of this. It's trying to find the floppy disk, which we obviously don't have for the key. So we're gonna run it again. We're gonna choose the standard desktop experience. There we go. And we're gonna hit custom. We're gonna choose our driver. And we wait. In this step, we're gonna assign a password. Make sure that your password contains a Make sure that your password contains a lowercase and a uppercase letter with numbers and hopefully some special characters. And also make sure that your re-enter password is the same as the first one. I'm gonna hold Ctrl Alt and Delete as you can see. When you when you hold that combination, it might go back in your original Windows operating system, but don't worry about it, and you can come back to the. So that's how you install the Windows 2022. So that's how you install Windows Server 2022. But how can we configure it? So obviously you want to select the configure this local server, and then we're gonna choose a name for it. For example, in this example, we're gonna name it Opera Learn and click OK. So apparently we can choose a space. After you change your operating system name, after you change your server name, you have to restart your computer so it would apply the changes. Again, we're going to hold Control Alt Delete and we enter our password. And here it is. So now what we're going to do is to configure our DNS. In order to do that, you need to come over here, click on properties, and select this one, and we need to basically fill these parts. We're gonna go in CMD. You have to write IP config space slash all. So what we want is this. You're gonna select it with your cursor and hit Control C. After that, you can come over here and simply hold Control V to paste it. I'm gonna tap here, and then we're gonna come down here and we're gonna paste this one and we're gonna post one. So now what you want to do is hit OK, and if you come over here and see the details, you see that our IP address has changed. And that's about it. As you can see, our Ethernet says that this is our IP address. So for our next step, we wanna add a feature which is called Active Directory. Hit next, and here it is, Active Directory. and we're gonna choose this one, add features, and we wanna hit next, next, next. We want to hit restart and we hit install. So it's going to take quite a bit. So in the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions. So you might ask, what are the main roles of a Windows server? Like, what do we even need them? So a Windows server handles things like user management, assigning IPs, resolving domain names, file sharing, virtualization, hosting websites, and remote access. So great stuff. So the second question is, what is the difference between a static and a dynamic IP address? So the static IP address is set manually and it won't change, which will dynamic IP is given by DHCP and will change over time and might cause some issues down the line. The third question is how to promote a server to a domain controller. So in order to do that, we have to install the ADDS role in Server Manager, then follow the steps to promote the server to a domain controller. So as you can see, our feature is installed. We want to restart our server, so we won't find any errors down the line, and later we actually can add some users in our Active Directory. So before we add our user, we have to click here and we have to go over some configurations. So what we want to do is to add a new forest, and we're gonna bring it opera.learn, and we're gonna hit next. So as before, we have to set our password with lower and uppercase letters and numbers and hopefully some special characters. So now the installation is done finally, we can add our new users. So what we want to do is to come over here, click on tools, click on active user and go further, right click on it, new user, and we're gonna fill it with like first name, like Amir for example, and last name we're gonna put Shahidi, and user login name like Amir, simply put, and we're gonna do next password. We're gonna put some generic password as before. Make sure to use lower and uppercase letters with numbers. Password expires. Next, finish. So if we restart our machine again, we might be able to log in as our new user. So in this part, we're gonna Control delete and other user. Username was Amir. Password was and there you have it, folks. I see you on the next tutorial.